Kerri, we are so excited to have you here. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us for a little while.
I am so excited, and I gotta admit, I never wear red to any speaking engagement, and I'm so glad I could pull my red dress out for this event.
Engagement. You've never been to a year-end extravaganza before.
I have not. So I was really excited about the holiday chic.
Well, when you said, you're the one that came up with that. You came up with holiday chic, and that's what I told everybody from that point forward. They were like, what should I wear? Holiday chic. We'll leave it open, but you're matching. Even the ornaments, like Kerri set the bar high, and she just jumped over it. So thank you for helping us with that.
You gotta bring the sizzle.
That's right.
Absolutely crushed it. Well, Kerri, we would love to kind of hear your perspective, especially coming, from two market leaders and in different segments, from an inventory and lead acquisition at TrueCar, and then moving now, you're with AutoFi, been in a couple of different regions of platforms or technologies that enable dealers. But what is your perspective as we head into 2022? Leveraging some of these platforms, especially with AutoFi. We've heard from, I think every single person at this point saying, hey, look, you've got to understand digital or really modern or omni-channel retailing. What are the people that you're in touch with really looking to enable platforms in their dealerships heading into 2022?
Yeah, AutoFi sits in a very unique place in the industry because not only do we work directly with dealers and enabling them through their websites, but we work with a lot of other players within the industry. We power OEMs, we power, groups, we power banks. And so when, through that lens, we kind of see, we have a good viewpoint on what's happening, in the digital space. And I think there's definitely a race to digital retailing is what I call it. No one's quite there yet, but there's that race to digital retailing. And there's all these big entities that are going after it. And what I like to say is that, now is not the time to rest on your laurels. I know we have seen record-breaking profits in the industry, but I will say from our vantage point, these big players are leaning in. When you look at our data, we see a 425% increase in credit apps in the last year over year, 605% increase in funded loans. And so consumers are leaning in, and certainly some of these players are leaning in as well in this race to digital retailing.
Yeah, and I love how you say it's a race to digital retailing, because I know a lot of dealers, especially mid to large size dealer groups, that are leaning on asking the vendors, the providers, especially in your space, we've got to get this done. We've got to pull together the DMS and the bank and the website provider and the data providers, and we have to get this done in order to serve our customers well, because dealers are realizing, as we've heard already throughout our sessions, like, this is a non-negotiable. This is going to be table stakes very quickly. And as Glenn Lundy said, we're about to hit 100 years in 1 year, right? Or 5 years.
So, 5 years, yeah.
So what, what's the speed to get there? What do you see? Do you see it as possible in 2022 for not just AutoFi, but multiple vendors to come to the table to enable dealers to do that?
It's absolutely going to take more than just a company like AutoFi. I think the integrations, as you mentioned, with the CRM and the DMS are very important. I think one of the bigger hurdles to me is that connection between online and offline, and it's what the industry has struggled with. We think of digital retailing, or many think of digital retailing as just a widget on a site, and that is not what digital retailing. I almost want to eliminate the term, because digital retailing should be retailing, and that is about bringing the showroom onto the website through digital retailing tools, but also about bringing the digital experience into the showroom. And I think that is the gap that we're seeing in terms of success in digital retailing. It's the showroom tools, because the reality is that the majority of consumers are going to start online, but they're going to end up in the showroom. And is that experience going to connect with what they experienced online? Are they going to be able to do the things that you can do on the website, like get a trade value, get financed, look at different deals? Are they going to be able to do that in the showroom with anybody in your on your team? I think digital is about enabling everyone on your team to do more, including your salespeople, all the way through management and your F&I. And we have to not think about digital as a threat to people's jobs, but more empowering them to move quicker, to add more efficiencies to the experience. And that is, to me, the true opportunity with digital retailing.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of efficiency loss because, and to be honest, so much of the digital retailing platforms were targeted at, the marketer or the owner saying, hey, look, we've got to have this. And yet the rest of the showroom, the rest of the finance department, the sales management staff, not being knee deep in it, hands in, dirt, getting in the dirt of like, hey, this is what we need to actually execute a car deal. I think someone asked, another Tim Cox, a good friend, said, hey, when's the last time you attempted to use your tool to sell a car in the showroom? Right? And that's just not a question that we're asking right now. And I think that, to your point, it has to be asked.
Yeah, if you think about how we would map your website experience and the user experience, which, I've worked in the digital space, UX is everything, right? Mapping that consumer experience, you could also map it in the same way in the showroom. How can we use digital to check a customer in, right? How do we use digital to handle the trade? All of the things that we can do through the website can be done online, but it does take leadership buy-in, as you mentioned, to really push that as a culture and as a strategy to differentiate in the showroom. I think there's still a lot of resistance because there's almost a threat that this might replace my job. But we can all agree that the 4 to 5 hours it takes to buy a car, we can do better. And I think digital is a huge key to that improvement. We have to rethink the relationship between digital and the showroom. I always say that, we used to think about the showroom as an extension of your website. Really, your website is I'm sorry, the other way around. We used to think of the website as the extension of your showroom, but really your showroom is an extension of your website. We need these two to connect because people are going to start online and they're expecting that same seamless experience when they get into the showroom. There's so much opportunity there.
I'm so glad that you just juxtaposed that by accident, but I think it really makes the point. It means that we need a full shift and a full flip in our thinking because that was the traditional thinking when it came to let's have a great website because it's an extension of your showroom. Flip that on its head, no longer the case, think about it the other way around. We've just deployed, just so you know, 2 producers into the Metaverse, and one has a spacesuit and one is just like Mr. Beast. And they're going to find him and they're going to bring him back.
That's okay. I can take his time.
I know. You're doing great. I just want to enough.
Well, and I think, one other thing to touch on is just from a mindset standpoint, the idea that, we have an internet department. Just if you think about the way that automotive thinks about digital, it's this separate experience. It's this separate department.
Right.
And I think, the dealership of the future is going to enable everybody to be an internet salesperson, everybody to be a digital salesperson.
I love that point.
Right? Technology makes me smarter and better.
The hierarchy.
I use my phone and I can, find anywhere in America and find the directions to. It doesn't replace who I am, but it does make me more efficient and smarter.
The hierarchy that you just mentioned, even the fact that you said dealerships, a lot of them have an internet department, right? That communicates to everybody else in the store that you are the internet department. We'll leave that to the internet department.
You can't sell cars to online people.
Right.
So I have a question for you. What was your biggest surprise of 2021? Whether something that was adopted quickly, not adopted, something that came in left field. What was your biggest surprise in 2021?
Oh, wow. I feel like all these years have just merged together.
Right.
But, I do think that dealers are leaning into digital in a quicker way than I have seen in my 22 years in the industry. I remember when mobile became hot and I was speaking at Digital Dealer or some conference on, hey, everybody, we got to adopt, mobile. And it felt like I was always kind of pushing at the industry to adopt. And there was always this hesitation. And I feel like, with the pandemic, it caused people to lean into it. And in my mind in 2021, that they would kind of retreat back, especially when profitability was so high for many dealers. They were kind of, quote, fat and happy from a ROI standpoint. And what I have seen is that many dealers, oftentimes the groups and the larger players are still dedicated and leaning more into digital than I was ever expecting.
Yeah, we heard just a second ago Alex Vetter saying, Well, on the Dealer Inspire platform, we're seeing more support tickets and change requests on our websites than we've ever seen in the past. I'm guessing, from your perspective, like the digital retailing tools, the AutoFis, the CarNows, the Goobagoos, all of the, the Fuses, all of that are all probably getting more like, no, we needed to do this in order to do X. Right?
That's a great indicator because it's just driving the fact that people are tinkering.
Right.
People are changing. People are like, this isn't good enough. And obviously, they're responding to it by designing new tools.
Yes.
But I love it. So Kerri's causing a lot of trouble. And we're also
seeing some of the, the groups. You're seeing a lot of consolidation with the groups. And I think we're seeing some of these groups wanting to build their own marketplaces and their own branded experiences so that they can compete against some of these digital dealers and disruptors out there. And I think that's very promising. I think the groups have a huge advantage of being very regional, but also being able to use technology to scale and to expand their footprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of expanding your footprint,
I wish we.
We got to get that. Next time we'll have the trigger pads.
Look, if
for
you look
guys.
really closely, you can see the Oculus ring around Bob's face because Bob, we sent 2 producers into the metaverse to get you out. 2.
Congrats,
Bob,
you made it.
I went to the holiday party without you. I went without my date.
could we all not listen to Kerri Wise forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Let's go. Well, Bob, welcome to the show. We've been talking metaverse, NFTs, technology, the whole 9 yards, and obviously, you are a part of a platform and a technology that has recently massively shifted its name in order to adopt a cultural norm and a wide swath of people that are leaning in going, hey, look, we're going to use a platform in a whole different way. So I guess what was your biggest surprise over 2021 in the way that people engaged with not just the Facebook platform, but all of the Meta platforms now, and how that user engagement has driven you all to create things new?
Yeah, I'll start off though with a quick story about the Metaverse since you brought it up. When we made the name change, outside of the few texts that I got of that's a stupid name, what are you guys doing, blah, blah, blah. I did have a number of dealers ping me on LinkedIn saying they wanted to be the first dealer in the Metaverse. So as much as we joke about it and maybe the name is a little funky, at the end of the day, I know there are plenty of dealers out there that do want to evolve and ensure that they're at the forefront of evolving technology. So I figured I would just tell you that quick story. So we'll see where the Metaverse goes, right? I mean, the Meta or Facebook is not building the Metaverse. It's going to be built by partners outside of our platform. So I'm anxious to see what gets built. But, user engagement for us just continues to be very strong. Both paid and organically. I think it was great to see dealers, for me personally, organically drive their brand with how they react and engage into the community. So that was fun to see come back after, I think maybe a little bit of a hiatus for however long, for whatever reason. It was just great to see the industry as a whole come back and realize that they've been playing a role in the community for years, for decades, and that they need to continue that and, even promote it. And there's nothing wrong with promoting it because you're promoting what you're doing, for the community, for the charitable attributions that you give. So, we've had some changes, right? And Kyle, you were at the forefront of some of those changes with Marketplace and a few of our other properties. I was very appreciative with the way the industry reacted to those changes. So thank you very much to the industry for that. But it's been an interesting time. We've went from a pandemic where we weren't sure if we could walk into a showroom to we have no new cars. I don't need to walk in because I have nothing to buy, but great demand for the industry and, at the very least used cars. And then the new ones that were coming in were being pre-sold. So I guess what I would just say is I think social media as a whole, the last couple of years has accelerated and even grown bigger than they were. Here's a stat for you. 196 million people here in the US are on one of our platforms every single day.
Wow. How many people are in the U.S.? Not that much more than that.
That's more than half of it.
well more than half. So that's, if you're not there, I think the encouragement is to dealers, if you're not there, be there, right? Because that's where your people are. So as we were talking to Kerri, we were talking a lot about kind of the omni-channel retailing experience, not just digital retailing, but understanding in-store retailing and how both of those are one and the same, and dealers asking vendors and partners to do more of that. And coming from what dealers typically see Facebook or Instagram as an ad platform solely, that's a lot of the mindset around it is, oh, that's where I get paid traffic from, that's where I do display, AIA, all of that type of stuff. How are you looking at special social platforms across and shopping platforms to enable that omni-channel retailing experience that really feels seamless from the minute they that customers first engage with a dealership all the way through to the purchase and then reacquisition process?
You're going to hear this term greatly in 2022. If you haven't heard it a great amount in 2021, which is called social commerce, right? This concept of being able to discover the product, which social media already has a great ability to do, which we call discovery commerce, but then to be able to purchase right then and there within social. And then social selling is even expanded into how you're selling your product, right? How you're demonstrating your product, how you're presenting your product. And for anyone that is that is on TikTok or on Reels or sees how those people that are selling clothes and other products, how they represent what they're selling in a very fun way. They give you also the ability to purchase that product right then and there. And I think as the digital retailing platforms evolve, or even the mindset of dealers to say, hey, they don't have to buy the car from me on my platform, right, Kerri? Like it doesn't have to be on the dealer's website, or maybe it's not even going to be in person. Right? If they can get everything they can get as it relates to them being able to make a fundamentally sound decision on what they want, if they're going to do it on this platform, let's enable that ability to do that. So I think you're going to, I know you're going to hear the concept of social selling. The numbers have skyrocketed in the sense of how social selling has increased the e-commerce world. And when you tie in our love of brand or discovery commerce with social selling, you're going to see a very omni-channel or a very smooth flow on purchasing an automobile.
Wow.
Well, Bob brings up a good point, and something that I often say is the point of sale is wherever the customer is. And so that might be online for the small percent of consumers that want to do everything online. That's probably a combination of both, or that might be in the showroom, or that might be on some other properties. But I think it's the flexibility of it being wherever the customer is, and the flexibility of turning our purchase funnel upside down. We see financing. A lot of customers want that earlier in the experience, and most dealers are comfortable with. And the dealers that are going to adjust to that customer are the dealers that are going to stand out and win. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
What would it look like for the mommy blogger to be doing an Instagram live with a dealership's car in the background talking about why that's the car that they drive, and someone enter a shopping experience immediately from that and purchase a car from your dealership?
It would look like revenue.
That would look like a lot of revenue. I think, look, if you can pull that off, and where that can happen, and I think it's going to happen here shortly, but I would love to see that video, and we will put it everywhere where people are at, because that's actually pushing the envelope.
But here's the thing to think about, right? Like, we've had this sales process since I sold in the 90s, which I know was even a process well before my time, right? Which is this very strict process on how to buy a car, which caused this perception that we currently have today in the auto industry, which is more negative than positive, right? In terms of the process of buying a car, right? Social selling is fun, right? They get to use scripts and how they create the videos, and they get to create videos in a fun way. So, maybe not the majority is instantly clicking a button and purchasing right then and there, but at the very least, they're getting introduced to your brand, which at that time is fun, or at least, hey, I want to do business with that brand versus that, stringent process that we have to follow or that we've had followed for so long, which just hasn't been fun in the past. Let's flip it. Let's make it completely different, and let's have some fun with it.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're about out of time, but we want to give you one last shout to the industry. So we're going to start with Kerri, and just want to ask you, as we, especially not just the whole of 2021, but as we go into January and Q1 of 2022, what's your encouragement to dealers as they take this journey, headed out of the, obviously we can't forget about the week after Christmas. That's a big week, right? We can't forget about
Industry's
that.
Still working.
But as we go into Q1, what is your encouragement to dealers, Kerri?
So I'm going to take a page from Bezos from Amazon. He says that you have to be customer focused, not competitor focused, in order to be really innovative. Something along that lines. But the key thing is that we as an industry are very competitive. We like to look at what the next dealer is doing, the next guy is doing, and we really need to think about the customer. We need to take a step back and say, what do they want? Actually, what will they want, right, in the future? Because to me, that is how you're going to differentiate. It's that simple. It's what the customer is going to drive the innovation in the automotive industry, and we're either going to adapt to that or not.
Awesome. Bob, we'll hear from you.
I'm going to tell you what my biggest focus for 2022 is going to be. It's measurement. Guys, if this was national advertising, like there's a third party that oversees it, right? And it's constantly making sure that everybody abides by how advertising is done, from the size of ad units to how we measure. But in our world, it's a free-for-all, right? We don't set it up. We set it up differently in different partners, and we measure it differently. So we really need to unify measurement. We need to come together as an industry and say, hey, this is how we need to measure success. Because as soon as we unify that, we're able to then compare platforms across platforms in a unified way. So that's one of my biggest initiatives in 2022 is measurement. So I'll leave you at that.
So are we going to get our long measuring window back, Bob, is the big question. I think all the marketers on the call. So if we're talking measurement, do we get the full window back for attribution? You don't have to answer that. I won't press you to it. But thank you both for coming on, Kerri and Bob. It's been such a pleasure, and we wish you a very happy holidays from the Automotive State of the Union family and all the dealer and vendor family as well. Appreciate you all being on for sure.